Have you ever wondered how your model train locomotives run? Well, let me start off with just doing a very crude diagram. So that's your track. We have the two tracks like that, which are connected to your controller, and then your locomotive has wheels, which are generally picking up power, and then from there you have wires or pickup connectors going to what is the motor, which then spins some gears, which spins the wheels. So am I clear so far? Power goes from control to rails, picked up by wheels, sent to motor. Now in some cases you won't have a direct connection like this. You might have, for example, have your wheels like that with their power pickups going to, for example, a digital control board, which then sends power to your motor, sends power to your LEDs for lighting, sends power to a speaker for sound, and so on. That's digital. But the basic idea is that power runs through the tracks and it's picked up by the wheels. So I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. If there isn't a proper way for the wheels to pick up power for whatever reason, say dirty rails, dirty wheels, bad pickups, or broken wire, it could be something like that, then your locomotives aren't going to run very well. So various locomotives have various different ways of getting power to the motor, so to speak. I'm going to show you a few of those in this video. Now all my locos are DC, so this DCC thing doesn't apply to me, but still some of my locomotives have got, for example, where you have the power from the wheels going to a little board kind of thing and then to the motor, and in those that is the DCC socket. So then what we have is a blanking plate on top which bridges certain connections, converting that locomotive into DC. I will show you one of my locos with a DCC blanking plate as well. So let's get started. Let's get this paper out of the way. Let's bring in something a bit more useful, which is my trusty toolkit. And I'm just going to pan the camera up now because, well, I've got some locos in my shelf here. So to start off with, the simplest way of having your power pickup happening in a loco, I'm going to open that and take out my precious Coleman's locomotive, which I did a video on how I did a full restoration of it because it is a cherished thing that was given to me by my grandfather over 2 decades ago basically. So has a massive amount of sentimental value to me, this particular locomotive. I will put a link to that video in the description, but this loco has probably the simplest way of picking up power. First of all, it's all-wheel pickup, which you need in a small 040 like this because you've only got 4 contact points, which means you've got 2 contact points per rail. So if I were to just pan the camera up a little bit and show you some points over there, you can see that there is a plastic part in the points where obviously when a wheel passes over that, one side of the circuit is broken. So a loco like this, if it had less than 4 pickups, would stall when it went over that point there. As it is, these little 040s have an issue when they go over points like this at very slow speeds because there simply isn't enough pickup happening because of the number of wheels. So that's why this loco has pickups on all the wheels. I think I can just about see a pickup through there. Can you see that little thing brushing against the wheel there? That's a pickup. And then if we pop the body off, you can see it's a very rudimentary system where you have the pickups right at the bottom there directly contacting with the motor contacts. So this is the most simple way you're going to find power being given to a locomotive's motor from its wheels. Straight from the wheels through pickups. There aren't even any wires in this thing. In fact, you can't see a single wire in it because there isn't. The pickups themselves have little metal arms which you can just about see glinting there, which reach up and directly contact the motor contacts. So like I said, this is as simple as it gets, which means there are 2 possible failure points. One is where the pickup contacts contact the motor contacts, but those are generally a fairly tight fit if you have aligned things correctly. The other place where you can have issues is where the pickups contact the wheels inside there. Once again, mine doesn't have the issue because it's adjusted, but the final thing, which is an issue for all locomotives that regularly run, is dirty wheels. Now you can see that the wheels on this are in a moderate state of cleanliness. They're not super clean, they're not extremely dirty either, which means that if I put this thing on the track, it should run kind of okay. I shouldn't have any issues with it. Maybe it would run at about 90% of its potential and I could unlock that additional 10% if I clean the wheels. But even that 90% is good enough. So that is the Coleman's locomotive for you. Now the next locomotive I'm going to show you is my precious Intercity 125. Now this is the older Hornby and this bears the name of my son on it. As you can see, I did another video about naming your model train locomotives. Now this one has the motor bogie at the back here and unpowered bogie at the front, and it also has lights installed, which I did. Once again, there's another video on my channel on how I did that. So these older Hornby locomotives use a system where the front bogie picks up power from one rail, which is usually the one on this side, and the rear bogie picks up current from the other rail. Now you can see that this has traction tires on it, rubber traction tires, which are one of Hornby's staple things for improving traction, because well, some of their rolling stock tends to be pretty light in the name interests of cost. So what they do is they put these rubber traction tires. I mean, traction tires have their pros and cons. Pros are they give you really good grip for long trains. Cons are that they can wear down and they sometimes leave rubber deposits on the track, which once again contributes to your dirty track over time. But it also means that those wheels can't pick up power. So how this locomotive does it is, the wheels on this side are picking up power one feed from that track, and the wheels on this side are picking up from the other track. And then there is a wire running from this bogie to the motor, where it's connected to the motor there, and the other wheels are directly connected to the motor of sorts because they actually have a metal chassis inside there. So this locomotive also has only 2 pickups per side. It's just like the little 040 that I showed you. But having said that, it runs much better, probably because for one thing, the 2 pickups are staggered, so to speak. You've got one side pickups over here, waiting for my camera to focus. Sorry about that. Why is it not focusing? Oh, there we go. And the other side pickups are quite some way back over here. Of course, and the wheelbase between the 2 axles in the bogie is longer than the 040. So that's why this locomotive manages to do a pretty good performance. These older Hornbys are like that. They have that funky kind of, configuration, which personally I don't believe is the best, but then again I can't fault the operation because they've never really given me much trouble. Now the other locomotive I'm going to show you is, this is a newer Hornby Intercity 125 in Virgin livery. Now this one, if you just about look there, can you see that little thing there? This one has all-wheel pickup. So the newer Hornbys did have all-wheel pickup, which means that all 8 wheels on this locomotive can theoretically pick up power, but I'm sure you can see the problem once again. The rear wheels with traction tires are all but useless at picking up power. So this locomotive with its all-wheel pickup only has 6 wheels picking up, which is just 2 wheels more than the previous older Hornby. So performance-wise, the 2 locomotives behave very similar in performance, which is to say they behave very well actually. Even the old Hornby 125s have never really stuttered on me, and if they have, it's been because of dirty wheels more than anything else. Now this one is a bit more complex because you've got 2 wires running from this, wait for my camera to focus, come along now, there we go. 2 wires running from this bogie to the motor, and you've got 2 more wires running from this bogie also to the motor. There is no chassis or hard metal connection to the motor from this bogie. So you've got 4 wires in total in there. And now this doesn't have a DCC socket, so there is no DCC blanking plate or anything, but there are additional wires as well for the lights, because once again this one as well has been given my lighting solution. So that's how that locomotive works. Now let's have a look at, I'm going to just roll this one into view because it's on the track, I mean, you know. There she goes. Now that is my Tornado Pullman. Now the Tornado Pullman has pickups on all main wheels. So we've got 6 pickups there, 3 per side. No traction tires because this is a pretty heavy locomotive. I'm really happy for that because personally I prefer heavy locomotives to those with traction tires, but also being a Hornby fan, I know I have no choice when it comes to some locomotives. I have to settle for their thrust down the throat traction tire solution. But yeah, this is also a very nice runner because it's got 6 wheels picking up. It does have wires going to the motor, so that is a point of failure potentially. But there's another little feature on this locomotive, which is that the locomotive has a flywheel on its motor, which is basically a circular weight that stores momentum. So when the motor is running, what happens is, let's say there's an interruption in the track continuity, for example. Well, there's a bit of momentum for the motor to work on. So I'm just going to back it up now. There we go. And I'm going to bring it at high speed, cut the power. Did you see how much it rolled? I'm going to send it back, high speed, cut. High speed, cut. High speed, cut. Now, if I were to do that with, say, my intercity XPT, which is here, let's say speed, cut, speed, cut. Now you can see it almost immediately cuts out, right? So that's the benefit of a flywheel. Having a flywheel can give you a bit of tolerance for things like dirty track or poorly adjusted contacts, or bad dirty wheels, or a motor that's seemingly going to fail. You have a bit of leeway there. Now, the final locomotive I want to show you is my Eurostar. And now for this little fellow, I have to open him up with the screwdriver, but I'm going to do that because there's something inside that I want to show you, which is the DCC socket, or rather the blanking plate. I'm just going to find the correct screw, because this one has screws to take the body off. Here we are. I've opened this one before up actually in a previous video where I had a intermittent issue with the performance. Have I put the correct? Yes, there we go. But I'm going to open it up again, which is okay. I don't mind doing this. Here we go. Now you see that little thing there. You can see the wires, right? You can see the wires going to my lighting solution. You can see that this has all-wheel pickups. So we've got 2 wires per bogie. We've got wires here as well. And there's another interesting thing about this that I will show you when I close it up and turn it over. But first, you can see the blanking plate there, which is for the DCC socket, since I'm running this in DC mode. So what that means is that basically it makes some connections inside the locomotive so that the locomotive can still work even though it's a DCC, what Hornby calls DCC ready. Actually, I'm just going to do this, set the locomotive in place now. Okay, I think I have set it. Let's hope I haven't messed anything up there. But yeah, I'm just going to put the screw back. And now the interesting thing I wanted to show you was, have a look at the rear bogie, the traction tires. You can see they are staggered, right? Now, I don't know why Hornby did it for this one and most of their other models don't have it. But I think this is far superior, because what that gives you is, rather than having 4 track pickups for one side and maybe 2 for the other side, it gives you 3 per side. And you can see there's a fairly big distance between them, right? I mean, you have got 2 pickups on this side here and then a pickup here. You've got 2 pickups on this side here and then a pickup here. So that's going to give you a lot better continuity, especially if you've got a section of dirty track or a complex of points. Yeah, for example, here I've got 2 points and then a third one just there, just off camera. So this kind of solution is far better. And I don't know why Hornby didn't go for this in basically all their traction tired locomotives, because it just, if you need to use traction tires, which you do, this thing is pretty light. If you need to use traction tires, staggering them seems to be far better in terms of pickups. So yeah, that is the way that locomotive, my Eurostar, is. I'm just going to put it back in its shelf. And the final one I'm going to show you is my prized Flying Scotsman. I did a video on this locomotive. Now once again, here it is. And this one also has pickups on main wheels. So we've got 3 per side. There is no flywheel. Interestingly, there is no flywheel. But this locomotive has something that helps compensate, and that is that it has a connection between the locomotive and the tender. So the tender wheels also do some picking up. So which means that I've got, I think, about 7 wheels per side doing picking up. You can see in the drawbar here, you can see the connections that go to the tender. So that's really nice, because, and that's why probably even without a flywheel, this locomotive is a very smooth runner, Of course, when you flip the power off and on and off, it doesn't glide as gracefully as the Tornado Pullman, because that's purely a flywheel thing. But it also is far more reliable than any other locomotive of mine, simply because of the many pickups it has. And of course, it's far more tolerant of dirty track, because I've found for some reason all the dirt and track gunk tends to get accumulated on the front pony truck wheels here. You can see them, right? So what's happening is, they are basically acting as a sort of track cleaner whenever this locomotive goes. It cleans the track ahead of the main wheels getting to them and the tender wheels and everything else. And then I don't have to worry about dirty track so much with this loco. It's kind of like a track cleaner, I don't know if that's a intended thing, probably not, but it just seems to be a happy side effect that my Flying Scotsman has. You can also see it's got crew which I bought and fitted. So yeah, I hope this little video has helped you get a bit more of an understanding of how the mechanicals and the electromechanicals of your locomotives may be. So yeah, if you've got running problems in any of your locomotives, check your tracks, check your wheels, check your pickups, and check your wires. And finally, If none of that seems to sort the problem out, then it most likely lies in your motor. That's of course if you don't have DCC. If you do have DCC, I'm not equipped to advise on that, as I know next to nothing about DCC. But yeah, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. And last but not least, please don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.